We're gonna follow this agenda, Ken. And
That's the first one on there?
solid waste fund's the first thing on there, yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I'm worried about, whether we're gonna be ready to open it on time, April 1st. Now, if we don't get the gate, and we can't get somebody to work in there, at the gate, what do we do? Let it, like it was last year, wide open, where everybody comes in there again, we have problems in there, trash and garbage. It's just over 2 years, I worked over that place trying to help get it straightened out. I was born and raised in this town. I have a lot of compassion for this town, for the people too. And I would like to know what's gonna get done. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Anybody else? I guess the first, well, there we go, the mayor can take over. Okay, so I guess the first thing on the agenda then is the solid waste fund.
Okay, solid waste fund. Mark, you gonna take your fund and run with it?
Can. As you can see, the first sheet here, Vicki put all the numbers together and with the cash balances and transfers of fund balance. They made an available balance of $41,000 this year. We're proposing to put $42,000 to fund balance in this next year, with an ending of $84,000. Revenues to expenses, you can see on the right-hand column, is where you come up with that $42,000. The biggest highlight in this year is we're not proposing any fee increases or rate increases or anything like that. The biggest highlights would be the vehicle that we had, the garbage truck, 2012 garbage truck that we had been having quite a few issues. Is the engine that's in the truck itself is a problem, and it's an International Harvester engine that they've known had these problems for not just us, all over the place. The work that we've been having done on it ends in, the warranty work ends in May. So from there on out, it'll be on our dime, the whole thing. So, and when it goes in, it's thousands of dollars, $6,000 sometimes. So, proposing to sell that truck or trade it in and lease another truck. Not that variety, obviously. And so go into a lease mode on that. And the idea is we're going to have enough in fund balance going forward here every year to make that payment for the truck. And we had moved our forestry operations out of solid waste and put them in the electric department last year, which freed up all that money. And we also are proposing in the alley fund to do some things differently this year, which would lessen the alley went into the general fund. So all of it used to be all put on the solid waste fund. So with those changes that have been made, we should be able to make that lease payment and be able to get on a regular schedule of having the truck replaced every 5-6 years. Also proposing to put $25,000 towards the pension stabilization fund within this budget. Going down through, we can get into the compost and though. Some of the things that we talked to Eric and went over some of this, and as you know, there's been some issues and concerns over the years. We talked about contacting the townships to see about them potentially helping fund some of this. We have to do that yet. We'd like to keep it open to residents only though this year. So there'd be just residents only. This isn't going to be a township thing unless the township actually wants to help pay for it through their, however they want to pay for it. Not a permit thing. So we'd get rid of the permits, selling the permits and all that. hiring a seasonal staff person to be up there that could check driver's licenses and residency status. Should be a little bit easier. Problem is, we are gonna have to talk to the Teamsters Union about having them work when they're not working, because that hasn't happened yet. So we would have to do that here soon. And I know there's negotiations going on with Teamsters, so I don't know how that would go. And we'd keep the tree contractors out of there, just because it's not set up to take a lot of tree waste. And so those are kind of the highlights of the compost site. Move the camera, one of the cameras in a different position to actually get the license plate. When we install the cameras, you can't actually read the license numbers on the cars. So we should be able to adjust that to be able to see the license numbers. So that would help on controlling it, I guess. So our budget would be, we are gonna have, because the compost site has changed a little bit here, since I've been here, it's changed. We're gonna have a little bit left in our budget from this past year, because it's kind of hard to know what your needs that are changing all the time. But so our proposed budget this year for the compost is $42,000, almost $43,000. And that spells out what it is. Any questions on the compost, other than that?
Does that payroll number reflect the proposed part-time person?
Yes. Yeah. We may have to establish hours to be able to meet that, so, but yes.
You talking like the seasonal person or actual DPW person?
This would be based on a seasonal being up there, because, right this year, as of the 31st of, as of the 31st of December, we had spent about $6,000 on our budget there, so we shouldn't have a whole lot more there.
Okay.
So $4,000 or $5,000 for a seasonal employee up there.
I'm just curious because there's DPW benefits in there too.
Yeah, well, that does include DPW being up there as well.
Okay.
Because they have to push the tiles and stuff around, clean it up, pick up the trash, all that stuff.
I was gonna ask Vicki a question. So is this all the way through projected what it's gonna be the end of the year? That's why it says through, or what is it gonna be January?
That's the activity that we've had so far
So it was supposed to be January?
through, well, I did it through the end of the fiscal year, so
Okay,
it
so
would
that's what I'm
pick up,
saying, is you're calculating that
everything.
what it's gonna-
it would pick up everything that we have so far.
Okay.
So it would be through January
Oh,
9th,
okay, that's what I was trying to get at. Was it through January or what you're projecting?
or,
Two
I'm
is-
sorry,
two is
February 9th.
February 9th?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I've been here since 8 o'clock this morning.
Oh, okay.
With
Okay.
no break. Yes, so it's been activity
Oh, okay.
through February 9th.
Okay, I just want to make sure with these numbers.
So there's still about a month and a half.
Mhm.
There won't be any compost in that time.
No.
But the regular garbage and the city cleanup's done for the year. The Regular garbage, they'll still be.
Mark, on the garbage truck, do you think there is going to be any problem disposing of that on the market?
I
I mean, have you
It's got a it's got a black eye. I mean, it's not a real, it's a well-known fact that it's not a good engine. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just, I put under miscellaneous income, you can see a number of $50,300. That's basically, I'm just guessing, maybe we'll get that for it.
Okay. And what was the purchase price of that? Was it 160?
It was up more over two.
It was over 2? Okay.
Yeah. I saw that Escanaba's getting a new truck too. Well, I don't know if they approved it, but I know they were looking at getting a new truck as well. So maybe if we do this, I don't know how they're doing it, if they're leasing or buying, what they're doing, but
Well, I think leasing's a good idea for a piece of equipment like that.
yeah.
Um,
Get a-
It doesn't get us into a situation like that right now. And are there any is there any maintenance or anything included with that lease?
Well, we'd have to, shop what we can afford, because, yeah, you can get, I was talking to one of the dealers, and they were saying that, like Delta Disposal, they lease all of their trucks,
Do lease all the trucks?
and they don't perform any maintenance at all. They
I know
lease.
I know all the construction companies and everything, they lease almost everything.
So, and quite honestly, with our equipment fund, it's not like we have all new equipment. So there's plenty of other work that needs to be done, so we have to be careful of how much, what can we do internally with our own mechanic compared to what we can do on that truck, because there's some specialized things that go on with it. So I talked to Tiger a little bit about it, and just kind of what's that level where he feels comfortable, because there's some things that he just shouldn't be doing, I don't think, It's not that he can't do some things, but sometimes it just gets beyond one person doing that.
What year was that truck put into service?
2012.
Was it in 12?
Yeah.
So we're looking to get about 6 years of service out of it?
Yeah, we should probably be looking at getting a new vehicle swapped out every 6-7 years. If we get a decent truck, maybe we're talking 8 years,
Right.
but this truck hasn't panned out. This truck, when it was bought, doesn't have the right axle set up. The guys get stuck up in the dome every time you go up there right now, basically when it's wet anyway. And then it's broke down quite a bit, so. It's been running pretty good lately, so. Be careful about it. But-
One of the nice things about leasing to own too is that the leasing company bears the burden of depreciation.
Right.
Which that's about 30,000, right, in this one?
So that's
Should
a
help with that.
big benefit.
I've never leased vehicles, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I think, like you said, in this type of vehicle, it's probably good you do. Everything else pretty much stays the same.
We thought in regards to the townships coming in there, if they want to step forward and help as per their population. Otherwise, there's Delta County landfills, and they can use that whenever they want. So contractors and other townships that just take care of ourselves. I don't know how Escanaba Township's gonna feel, because I know there's a lot of people from Lake Bluff, and there's a lot of people from Kipling and Brampton Township, but it's just, unless they can come up and police themselves or come up with some money, we can't supply a free source of compost for them.
The one thing to keep in mind on the compost site, again, never composted before until I came here, but we are only supposed to have 5,000 yards of product waste on site. That's all we're supposed to have. I can tell you we're way over that right now. So the only way we keep ahead is in the spring, we have someone come and grind it all up, then we gotta get rid of all that. So we have to be careful how much we actually bring into the site, so we're not overdoing it. Then it puts you up to another level, because we're a certified compost site with the state of Michigan. So anyways,
Do we have a contingency just in case seasonal help can be used for a gate? I mean, is there money in there for that possibility so that it is controlled?
I'm just going forward with it.
There's fund balance if we'd have to change, do a amendment to the budget, but
How much was
Hours
that
could be
gate?
adjusted, maybe, Steve.
right around 30.
Well, I'm just saying that there was something that we talked quite extensively in your committee and everything last year. And that was the next step, even though we bypassed it by doing something better, it looks like.
Mhm.
But I think the citizens are kind of looking at having something stable there if one falls through.
I was gonna say, because if we don't get someone to be up there manning it, or help from the other townships, I think we need to talk about
I mean,
I
could we
think
take
can
that
manage it.
labor money and it's budgeted and allocate that? That portion can't go through with the labor and use that?
Yep.
I mean, so it is,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
contingency or another can be done with that
Yep,
$12,000.
the working process, the budget here, we can, whatever, we have a fund balance in that fund, if we need to, we can.
And we just kind of went through and highlighted a few of the things that we wanted to see change this year, and went forward with that idea, with that in mind. We can always change.
The 30,000 for the gate, was that installed or was that just the equipment?
That was, I'd have to go back and dig that up. Just- Concern with the gate was, like, what happens with cleanup was that people are gonna start sharing their gate cards with their buddies, and once the gate gets open, once you go in and you open the gate, there's to say somebody won't fall right behind you and dump at the same time. It
What
doesn't
if
have a
somebody
gate.
leaves
Or
it
leaves the
open?
gate open?
Yeah.
I think it shuts off.
It's
now.
automatic.
Does it?
Just a rolling kind of-
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different types.
Like Arby's, clean up in the block.
Might, yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
if
must
Irish
be.
Oaks has
Yeah.
one, they don't all really work out. Now you got to clean up.
Yeah,
Good storage place up in the parts that one.
Do that, okay.
that would work if, if you had to. Get more calls about garbage than anything in a day or a week. That's the number one call.
What's the large, I see from, there's a large number in budget, amended budget for compost revenue, and then there's hardly any activity in it there, and then there's about the same budgeted again. What is that number in the compost revenue?
Answer that. On the.
It was split out for this fiscal year, but it was not passed on to utility billing to split out garbage collection fees and compost revenue. So when I noticed the mistake, I had Patty, our utility billing clerk, split it out, but I need to do an adjusting entry to record that revenue.
That $147,000 number comes from a $495 service charge, customer charge, basically.
Charge, okay.
Which includes, it's primarily administrative costs, but there's the compost, so that's just part of it. It actually shouldn't be called compost revenue because it's actually,
A fee.
It's a fee, administrative fee, it's the compost site, and it's also the yearly pickup, $7,000 or $8,000 yearly pickup cost. Those all go into that number.
We're showing $3,000 for compost permit revenue.
Oh, that's, yeah, we wouldn't need that if we,
Did that come out of there?
yeah, that should probably come out of there.
If we're not gonna,
Yep.
So take that out.
Yeah. If we're not gonna allow
the
it.
$3,000.
Right, if you're talking about either way,
Yeah.
you know, just residents or in the card, right?
Do you know how much you were asking for each of the townships?
Oh, no, we haven't
Haven't
got
figured
even
that
close to that.
No, we haven't got to that point yet.
Were you gonna calculate it compared to how much the city of Gladstone per resident has to
We could do a quick, it's about 18% is what I said, Eric, is what it's about 18% of that 495 is what's, goes towards the compost site. About 18% of that 495 goes to the compost site, so if a compost resident in the township has a, they can use that as their own fee, I mean, but they can structure the payment however they want it, I guess.
We'd be looking at a lump sum from the township.
Yeah. It's,
What do you guys think?
Escanaba Township, where they have about
Living in town or not?
well, it's hard with them, because, the Lake Bluff, a lot of the Lake Bluffers come this way, but the people out in Flat Rock, they probably just go to the landfill, so it's such a big township.
It's not a huge sum of money, it'd be
Yeah.
$1,000. Probably, if it's 18% of 495 is 90 cents.
But at least it would give them access to it too then.
But the way it was originally calculated, the 18% is way too low. That's not enough money. That does not, that 40,000, that's not 18% of that. So that number is not actually quite right.
What's the-
General tax rate.
What's all solid waste? But the allocation of monies are different in that fund for tax purposes.
Do our cost of service study, solid waste will be in that too, so that all the fees and the rates will be looked at and how they're divided up.
Any other questions on the solid waste?
Does that take care of all these pages?
Just the 540s, yeah.
I was just curious, what percentage of the defined benefit for MERS is being paid with that amount? Are we paying, is that the total amount we owe for this period of time, or is it a fraction of what we owe? As far as, are we paying our obligation currently anyways? Not worried about what we owe past, but are we keeping up at a percentage that is at least 80, close to 100% of what we owe for today's contribution?
Vicki, is that?
We pay the normal monthly amount. So
Anyway,
what-
I asked, are we paying, is that 40% of what we owe, 50%, or 60, or?
Did you say under defined contribution, Steve, or?
Defined-
Defined benefit.
The
under-
benefit.
Under the 21,640. I'm just curious if we're paying our
I was trying to
bill
figure out where it is.
currently.
We pay the
We
annual
pay the-
required contribution from MERS.
What is it?
The total figure,
No, what is this percentage of this?
It's based on who retired from.
No, what's the
South-
percentage of what we owe?
I don't know what the percentage is.
Does the audit tell us that?
Or what percentage is solid waste?
No, for this divine contribution.
Defined
I
I mean,
contribution?
benefit, the one that
I
we
don't
pay
understand what you're asking.
Defined benefit would be like the, what is it, 5 or 6% of the salary of the active employee. And then anything we pay above that goes to pay the percentage that was not paid for on past employees.
No, but I meant maybe, I have a hard time explaining myself, I guess. I guess the current payment that shows in this budget, is that 100% of the year's contribution that we owe? Or is it reduced according to what they say we can pay? So that we end up only paying a percentage of what we're actually need to pay?
Our normal yearly contribution to MERS for defined benefit is for the current active employees. And then there's also a portion that goes towards the unfunded liability.
So we're actually paying more than 100%.
Paying,
Of the active
paying
employees.
100% of the active
Active.
employees.
We're paying,
amount?
that's all I want to know.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
Of the active
of
employees.
the active.
Yeah.
So we're not losing any ground
No.
in this budget because we're paying 100% of it.
Of the 13 people that are in defined benefit.
No, I'm just worried about
I mean-
this, all the departments will be that, so I won't have to ask that question any
Yeah.
other time.
Then the extra 25,000 water, wastewater, and solid waste, that goes to pay for the old debt on.
Okay, and then what percentage is that of our old debt? Do we have that figure? The only reason I ask is because
I
you
would
do
have
have an
to-
extra 40,000, and I'm just thinking, is that a low amount, or is that? a
I would
nice-
have to figure that out for tomorrow's budget meeting.
We'll have that number for you.
You mean a fund balance of 40,000?
Of the
For the
unfunded.
stabilization fund.
Mhm.
I'm just curious, I mean, you're throwing in, I mean, the solid waste is actually throwing 25,000 extra into the fund, which is good. I mean, they're paying off part of our past debt. And I'm just curious, to the point is, what is the actual percentage of what we owe for this fund compared to what we're paying?
We're not accruing any more unfunded liability, correct?
Yeah.
Depends on our investment.
Depends on the
It's a
market.
floating figure every year, I think.
Yeah.
We don't know until December 31st when they do the actuarial that we get.
Well,
in
and
January.
you don't know based on how long somebody lives or.
Yeah,
No, but I would like to know what our obligation is for this, for our past employees on this, and what percentage we're paying of that. If we could pay more to help us out, I don't know.
Isn't that what the tax?
But it doesn't tell you percent.
90%.
No, but it shows you.
Yes.
We set up the pension stabilization fund to allow us to make the annual required contribution as it peaks out within the next 4 or 5 years.
No, but I'm worried about the double taxation of the citizens to pay for something additional when we can probably cover it, or depending on what percentage this is, kind of cover it in its own fund now. It's not unreasonable to try to look at that area of it.
The net pension liability, the 7.2 million, 5 million is general fund, 2.1 million or so is from the business type activities, which would be water, wastewater, electric, and solid waste. And then that gets divided up.
Eric, I don't know if we need to go into all them figures, I'm gonna have a hard time calculating all that. I guess what I'm saying is, the solid waste fund is behind in its pension liability by, $500,000.
That's what we're trying to do is we know how much each fund is behind. I just don't have that page more.
Okay, well, if we
In
can
the
work
net
on it,
pension.
I just wanna know sometime in the next, before we pass the budget on where we are with that. Just to make sure that we're utilizing whatever extra money we have as much as feasible to do that before going after the citizens for more. But I am happy with it being funded 100% in our current year, that we don't run backwards on the current employees that are under that program. I think that's real good to do that.
All right, any more questions on the solid
Oh,
waste?
I found the page.
As soon as you move on.
Net pension liability, wastewater is 328,000, water's 550,000, electric's 1.178 million, and solid waste is 96,000. So with our fund, we can keep a track on how we're knocking this off.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to see. So
I'm
That's
sure-
in the audit.
And that'll be in the audit next year. It'll show how we
Yeah.
paid that portion off. I just don't know how that
That's,
works with,
Page 21 of your
it's
audit.
on page
I do
1.
have it. I'll just write that down and I'll check it. Thank you.
We're not paying exactly the proportion of where that's owed, but we're trying to get each fund to pay, each of the business type funds to pay off their portion of it. And then go from there.
All right, any more questions on the solid waste?
Just one quick one. When do you anticipate having to go into a rental agreement, or when do you think the switch to sale and new equipment might You looking,
Well, if budget gets approved, then I haven't done a whole lot with it until I know that that's passed, I guess, so
Okay.
I would think.
is there a line item in here for rent of new equipment for rental
Rental,
of the, or new?
Be under administrative capital outlay, it's showing,
Capital outlay?
it's showing 50,
oh, yeah,
showing 50,000. Should be a lease.
Okay.
Lease.
Okay.
yeah, I just, again, I threw a number of 50,000 at it, I'm not
Okay,
just guessing.
Sure.
The truck's 250,000 in 5 years, I'm just, you know, it might be a little less than that.
right.
You might be able to get, we should be able to get money knocked off that with a trade-in, depending on the lemon that,
Right.
it's that anti-pollution stuff that,
That keeps screwing up. is that-
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't get better either.
yeah.
No,
There's a lot of heavy equipment, I buy heavy equipment and energy savings, clean air is wreaking havoc on a lot of people. They're looking for older trucks, like in my case, older buses.
That's it. When we were looking for a new sludge truck, they said, make sure it's before 2007 or older.
Yeah, you hear that all the
Yeah.
time.
that's why I wanted that Salter. Low miles.
Is there any MI deals for this?
Fix the
You know?
parts that are broke.
I'm not sure we can,
Not for garbage,
Not
not
for
for,
garbage
not
trucks?
for fully built garbage trucks. I mean, they have deals for like chassis and stuff, and then you have to go through
Have
it.
it built?
Yeah, that I've seen, at least on
I thought I did see they do have it, but I don't know if you can lease through my deal. I don't think you can lease through there. That's the issue.
Well, if Escanada's buying a new truck. too.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to Bill about what they're doing. I was gonna have our guys go drive one of their trucks around, see if they like it. They don't seem to have the same
Well, I
problems.
talked to Bill, and he said that if we ever could get together, I mean, you
Yeah.
and him, and
Yeah.
we both get the same truck, and we stock, you stock certain parts, they stock certain parts, and
Yeah.
you're ready to go, and they're interchangeable between
Yeah.
each city. So that's a good idea.
I want our guys to go drive their trucks around and see what they're doing. Yeah. Maybe we can get a better deal on it.
John, too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? All right, and moving on to the electrical fund.
So the electric fund. You read through all this, I mean, I don't, do I have to go through each number here, or do you just, at the bottom, it's just we're looking at going into the red. Basically because of the pension stabilization fund and some expenses to our substation and some line maintenance that we need to do. I had a what's that, plan, asset management plan put together, because about this time last year, there was conversations about, look what happened to Escanaba with their substation, they didn't, whatever, and it became a big issue, so I worked with our lineman and worked with Dave Krause to come up with a asset management plan for the substation itself. So, and so in that plan, he identified some items that were quick fixes, I guess, and that's what is reflected in the substation repairs.
Even after, so we're gonna have a proposed fund balance of almost an additional $2 million in that fund this year.
That's what,
Is that what this says?
it'd still be a fund balance.
And we're spending $539 into a pension stabilization fund.
No, we, this year,
353.
353. What did we spend, this year we
Right
put
down here.
5 something, what was this year's, Vicki, again, 580?
538. Might be just less.
353.
It was about 500,000.
So the electric fund has about a $1.2 million obligation to that the MERS, you know, so as, after this, we paid $800,000 of that out of the electric fund.
Into the-
So that's not a Headley issue with us this year.
No. We can prove that we're,
Okay, I just
that's
want to
why
make
we're
sure.
we're keeping it this way.
It's going directly to.
For
The people, yes, yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yep.
because there's-
Not enterprise fund only.
So, but that'll, yeah, so if we're starting to do it that way, that'll get us a goal to get us out of those areas at least,
Mhm.
so.
Just looking at the difference there between line item 702, 600 on page 32, the MERS defined contribution. Why is that so much less than the solid waste?
Where's that at?
Page 32, if we're looking at top page 32. Ledger count 702.600, the defined contribution, the $7,200.
That's defined contribution.
That's contribution, not the benefit.
Not the defined benefit.
Okay, I
He's
got
only-
you.
yeah,
I
he's
see,
only-
okay. I'm looking at 6 on 600, okay.
There's only one person in the electric department that's
Okay.
defined contribution.
Gotcha.
This fiscal year that we're in right now, the electric department is contributing $528,000 to the engine stabilization fund.
528.
On the
Okay, I
bottom
see
of
the
page
scene.
32.
I thought it said 350.
That's proposed.
That's
Proposed
for the
next year.
17,
Oh,
18.
this year, oh, 520, okay, so 800,000. That's
So
what you
far,
just said, yeah.
so far, right.
Oh,
Next year,
$1.2 million debt.
right,
Yeah.
So once we hit that, we need to look at it.
talk about what else we did. But I can go through this a little bit, a couple highlights just to fill you in. In the forestry budget, I want to do a tree inventory of our street trees this year, and I actually found a gal from Michigan Tech. She lives in town here. Friend of my daughter's actually, and she's a forestry major, and she can probably come in and work with me and Adam with the GIS and identify all of our trees and do a condition assessment of the trees. So we'll know what we're dealing with as far as cost, future cost. And, the emerald ash borer is a problem, it's been a problem for a long time, and it'd be good to identify those problems and they'll know what they're gonna cost us, I guess.
Is there any grant money for taking care of that? for
Not the
removing
ash,
those trees?
no, because there's been so many. When it
Okay.
first started, there was
That's what I thought.
some
My friend who
assistance.
Works at forestry, he has a forestry business, and he was getting money from the state to go to all these different areas, mainly downstate, and they were paying him to take down the trees.
Yeah, there's some assistance, but it's not a lot.
Okay.
It's not gonna do a big.
Okay.
There's forestry grants, different urban tree grants out there through the DNR and through the state, just different ones. Actually, we have a grant through DTE this spring to do a tree planting down by the DPW building. It's like $20 or $2,000 or something like that, but, so that's the sort of grants that are out there. But I think that having an inventory of our street trees is gonna be good for us to be able to, if something comes up in the future, we're gonna have a plan in place to deal with them, I guess. That does help. Contracted services there, that's stumps, removing stumps, planting new trees, tree removal. There's some things, Skip and the
That's
guys do a lot of tree removal, throughout the year, but quite honestly, it's almost the last thing we ever get to.
I think that's good that that's a contracted service, that they're not focusing on those lesser, I don't wanna, say it's not as needed, but.
Right. Well, there's some that we just shouldn't be touching anyways, I don't think. Nothing against Skip and the guys, but there's just some that are just not, they're not fun.
They're more important things to do.
Safety training, nothing much different there. Meter reading, billing, really nothing there.
What's the computers?
Where's that?
$4,000.
That's actually for me and Skip, to get a couple computers.
Right, so expensive.
I don't know, it might not be 10, it might be they run, and a printer. I just threw a number of 10,000 at it. I'll do 6.
Well, no, I mean, computers ain't, printers ain't,
Right.
that, what happens when, I guess what I'd say the computer's 3,000, 2 computers in a printer. What happens to the extra 7? Is that discretional spending?
That'll stay in this fund.
Would it be discretional spending, is what I want? Where you could use it to buy whatever you wanted, and if you're under the cap of 5,000? I just want to know how can that money be expended where we would not know that it would be spent on something?
Yeah, I guess technically, I guess you could. I mean, if that's how you look at it. I mean, I'm not gonna do that, but,
No, I'm not.
Right, I know, but-
I'm just saying, because what happens then we see all these other projects that are, $3,000-4,000, and
right,
I don't see them in the budget, and
right,
sometimes I feel I should know what's going on.
right. We do need, there's other things we need in the electric department in that regards, but this was mainly for Skip and I to get a new computer. Skip needs one really bad. Yes, it's like really old. And the printer we have right now is, we don't have a decent printer really in our area over there that's decent, so. If you wanna reduce
I
it,
think
yeah.
that can be reduced a little bit, in my opinion. I don't know what the other commissioners think, but, that's like 5,000 a computer, that's,
Have you got any certain models or anything that you've looked at?
I looked at some of the printers, can be, $3,000.
Is that a
Geez,
specialized printing? you need or
just a
something?
big, decent printer that can print, better than what we have. We just have these little inkjet things.
we need
So
a toner.
I just want a better,
Get rid of the inkjet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I looked at leasing a printer. You can spend a lot on those printers. If you want to go less, we can go less. We can do one computer this year, have Skip get a computer, whatever you want to do.
I didn't realize that you'd spend that much on a printer when you have access to copying other stuff.
Yeah.
And I buy printers all the time.
Well, if you're using a big commercial
I use
laser.
Laser,
Color laser.
it cost me $1,200 just for a cartridge.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. They're
I mean, I know
expensive.
what you're talking about, but they sure last a long time compared to inkjets.
You maybe roll your copier and your printer into one unit and rent it. But right now you're
Yeah.
renting a printer,
Yeah, we haven't.
How much is that? Bill?
budgeted for $1,000.
Could be, yeah.
At work, we got rid of all our printers, and all we have is printer copiers for everything.
Okay, it's like
One unit
does it all.
that does it all, it faxes, it prints, it copies,
Okay.
it
That's fine.
scans, and,
We
That's a
just
good
wanted to
idea.
get a couple computers and a printer. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think, you gotta have equipment that's up to date and works.
Skip definitely needs, this
Yeah,
is,
you gotta
mine's
have a
not.
color printer.
Well, I was gonna
Mine-
say, so far this year, you spent 98 cents on a copier, and last year was $80.92.
They're really going all out there.
Yeah, so I
Well,
don't
that's
think.
why I brought it up.
That's probably an
Right, I
old
don't
line.
think you
Lot
need
of money.
1,000.
That's
yeah.
probably an old line item.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that's even from.
The only other thing that I would like to know is that the transfer to the equipment fund, is that amount realistic, where that equipment fund doesn't get into a negative balance?
Well, there's what is there was not a stabilization, the equipment
I
fund,
didn't hear what the question was.
the transfer to the equipment fund, that dollar amount. that we-
We're in the last year of a stabilization, deficit elimination plan,
I thought we eliminated
We eliminated that.
the deficit elimination
No,
plan.
we eliminated the debt that was in the equipment fund.
No, this is a deficit elimination plan with the state of Michigan. We had to file 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and this is the last year. 17-18 fiscal year is the last year.
So
So that 61-64 brings it to zero, pays it off.
Right.
that goes to the state of Michigan?
It's just a plan that we had.
Oh, that
The-
we're
the
current
fund
at.
The fund was in a deficit, and we had to submit a plan to the state of Michigan to get
Get
that
out.
fund out of the deficit.
So paying that fund off didn't make a factor on that it's paid off at that one time. We still had
We have to
We
complete the
still have
fund.
to, yeah, we
It's still
still
gonna
have
be
to
a-
complete the plan.
Well, my question was the $6,000 from the electrical fund. Is that enough money in there to cover the expense so that? What is it?
Cover the,
To cover the equipment fund so it stays out of a negative
well,
balance.
the equipment fund will be, what day is the equipment fund?
Thursday.
It's on Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
On Thursday, so that question will be answered on Thursday.
So this will show up on Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more than just this fund pays into that.
Oh, no, I know it's
Water,
all the
wastewater.
funds. But I mean, we, the commission thought it was important to keep that fund
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that we
Yeah.
budget enough money for all the work you do on the equipment that's being paid by each department, so it doesn't get into a negative balance. I don't think that's unreasonable,
No.
and I just thought that if you take 2,000 out of the computer fund and add it to that, just to make sure, I'm, that's what I'm looking at, but I can wait till Thursday for that.
Yeah, see where we feel on Thursday.
Because maybe it's in the plus.
So. Um,
One thing on the page before that, there was a PCAC, what's that all about?
The PCAC is it's what we buy power for and what we sell it for. Sometimes, and it's kind of like the stock market, it fluctuates a little bit. So this past year, we were in the negative,
What does that mean? Is it good for us?
not negative. You want to be, so.
So I saw that it says this year there's gonna be no,
Well, because you look at the 2 years before that, Jay, it was
Yeah.
like 50,000
yeah,
positive. This year was negative.
Right.
That way, so I just,
Didn't even want to guess.
I don't, I mean.
So you
That's
don't
okay,
even know.
that's revenue, and that could be
Right.
extra.
So
Yeah.
what you're
That's a good-
saying
that's
is
a
you
good
don't know
Well,
until
this one,
like
he's
the
had
end
the
of the
positive,
year,
yeah, he's
then
Right.
that will happen?
Yeah,
We just lost
it goes through the year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's really it's really kind of confusing, people that do that. You should go to some of the conferences and listen to it, it's something. But it's about the cost of the power and what we sell it for,
Okay.
basically, the difference.
So those rates have changed depending on seasonally, time of day, everything, right?
Yeah, there's changes, the time of day, the load,
The load.
yeah, all that
Yeah.
plays into it.
So were you told why it was negative this year compared
I
to the
don't
positive?
know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I can find that out though, Jay. Trying to look into that.
Is there any major equipment we need in the electrical department? I mean, we know the solid waste was a truck, but I mean, in this,
We have one request this year in the electric fund is to a digger derrick truck. And I put at the very page, the last page of the fund. I put it under capital outlay, the very last line item, $60,000 on page 36. Page 36.
I thought they were like 200,000.
This is we have some hot insider trading information that we heard up the road from us up here. There's going to be one available shortly.
That's
So
a digger?
Yeah, digger derrick truck, and the truck we have now
We
is
need two of them, though.
we have one. That's fine. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than the other one. One we have is E16. It's a '92 Ford. Skip loves it, so we can talk more about that truck if you want. But it's time to go if we can do it. And this truck up in it's in Negaunee actually.
Why are they getting rid of it?
They're buying a brand new one. Isn't that right, Skip?
Yeah.
What year is this one?
The new one.
Yeah.
Skip knows more than I. What?
The Gaudi truck is a 2003.
Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah.
That's good. The other thing, I remember our first couple of months on the commission, Commissioner Thompson requested one time, did you ever get the answer on how many polls we set?
How many, I was just gonna ask that again, how many we did this past year?
Polls.
I mean,
How many times would we
the
have
value
used it
of
this
this.
past year?
where, could we rent it for
Could we lease it?
Escanaba
Yeah.
or some other place, or, I don't know.
How many did we get into this year? Skip?
Oh, probably, I'm thinking 10, but that's not the only use for the truck. I mean, lifting transformers, lifting anything. Holding poles for water, wastewater when they're doing project, that'll tie up a truck for, a day or 2 days or however long it takes. So,
If there's a water main break and they have to hold a pole in place, like in an alley or something, that's what will sit there the
or
entire
if a
time.
pole gets hit in the middle of the night, we don't replace them in the middle of the night, we pull them up.
I saw it parked by my house one time.
Yeah.
Right.
Your truck, your line trucks don't have boom capacity for transformers? Small ones?
Yeah, the one we currently have now will lift 5,900 pounds. The one we're looking at is 24/7, I think. It's a lot beefier truck. And it's 2 years newer than our new one.
And when you're looking at getting rid of, how long, we own that one then?
The one, the red one.
Yeah, what'd you say, 90?
It's a 92.
92?
We're gonna keep that, correct?
No, that'd be gone. We'd trade
You're not
that
gonna
out.
keep it for Skip? He likes that.
He wants to buy it. We could put a bid on that. But,
How long has that one been in service?
when Skip, has that been here since you know?
No, we bought it used from Alger Delta. I think we paid $7,000 for it. Probably 15 years ago.
Okay, so you got that long life out of it.
Money on that one.
You're not
You
gonna get
bought it
much out of
when we were in the middle of a water project, and it went right from Elger Delta over to hold a pole, I
Yep.
remember.
And it stayed here?
Yeah.
So that's the
We
only
get a lot of use out of
purchase, and it'd be probably a sealed bid situation. Skip went up and looked at the truck, and
You like
was pretty impressed with it.
If we can get that length of service out of it again,
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, they're 250,000 anyways, so
Quarter of a million, so that's a good deal.
Yeah.
It's
This
in
one's
shape.
pre-2007, so I think.
There you go.
and our other digger Derek it's in decent shape, but they were just out doing the inspections and repairs that we have to do to it every year, yearly inspections and repairs, and that one's not perfect. I mean, there's got some issues that we did some repairs to last year. We spent like $20,000 or something on it, but that one, so we had to put about 20 grand into that last year just to kind of get it up to snuff. And so there's going to be other things that might come up on that. So it's a good time to get into another one if we can. So, yep.
Another question. On page 35, the first section, fourth up, $100,000, which is $85,000 more for contracted services over the
Yep.
last 3 years, or
Yep.
2 years. What is that?
Those
And-
are,
And would that also, if you don't utilize it, be discretionary spending, or would that have to go for contracted services?
well, it is a little bit of a guess because it's based on this report, Steve. It's an asset management plan I had done for the substation itself. And
Is that for a
there's,
substation?
that's for work, oh wait, yeah, substation, yep.
Okay.
Substation, and that all came from last year. There was concerns over how adequate our substation was, so.
So is this for testing? Mainly for testing?
No, this is to do some,
Metering repair?
voltage regulator switches,
Yep.
transformer relays, and a slash protection package
Okay.
with a battery bank and some controls.
So that's gonna be done this year?
Yes, and that's why it's contracted, so it's probably about half of that's probably.
Well, it's a big figure different from all other years. So I
Yeah.
thought it'd be-
Well-
Is that the $100,000 you have on the highlights here on the front page?
Yes.
The substation
Yeah,
upgrades?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And there's gonna be more. I didn't have
No,
time.
I think those are good things that we need to keep up on.
But-
I mean,
Yeah, you don't wanna let this electrical,
no, any
it'll cost you a lot more if you don't take care of it.
infrastructure, anything like that needs to be,
So the highlight of this plan, though, very last, where was it at?
There's some testing in there too.
Yeah, there's other, yeah, so if we had to totally replace the substation, the engineer estimated it'd be $1.9 million. That would include land and grading, land too, if you had to find another piece of land and stuff. So, 1.9 million is what that, what
The
the
value-
estimate,
value
the
of
value of that entity. Just to give you an idea.
Here's another question. Under that first one where you talked about all the work you're doing,
Mhm.
it says line maintenance, 100,000.
Yeah.
But under the line maintenance item, under contract, it says 90,000.
Yeah, it should be, it's not, it's close to 100, I think. Is that why we, I think it's just,
What page, Jay?
Page 34, under that Department 544.
we need to get some new transformers installed. When the engineer was in town here, he went around and looked at some different things too, and he discovered a few transformers that we need to replace. And then the guys knew about some other things that needed replacement as well over the years. I have a list actually Skip put together, and Tom, I have a list from Tom White as well, that identified some things like that. And we also need a lot of poles that are going to need to be replaced as well, so we will need a little better system for that. So this will put some money into replacing some poles this year.
I guess my question was, it said 100,000 in here, it would only budget 90,000, so what is
It
it,
should have
90
been-
or 100?
It should be 90. if
Okay.
that's-
On the front page, should be
Yeah,
90?
because the front
Oh,
said
okay.
100,000.
I thought that was 100.
Yeah.
But just going back to that study there, the one item I saw in here was is that engineering architect, 10,000?
I put a number in there, because we may need some engineering help to put it out to bid, potentially, for some of this work.
Okay.
So that's why I did that. So that may not be that,
Who gets the energy optimization?
that's the
Does
end.
that that come to the city?
Yes, where you're at. Let's see.
35. 550, energy optimization.
Yeah, that's money
It's on your bill every month.
that we.
No, I know, but I
pay.
didn't know if they had to send it to somebody. We get that ourselves.
We
It's a
pay it
cost.
to WPPI and they send it back to us.
Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's a,
But we subcontract that out. That's
And is
the,
that all the benefits the citizens
Yes.
have where
Yep.
they have?
Where they
Like
come
all
here
that,
and.
like
Come in and
Programs.
evaluate your
Yep.
building and stuff?
Yeah.
Do we spend that every year? Is that an amount that?
Last year, I know that they put a stop to the light bulbs because they actually had went past what,
Oh.
everyone in town wanted light bulbs this past year. So they actually went past what we had. So,
And that's for businesses too, correct?
anybody that's a light customer.
There's a package that you can pick up, right?
yeah. And if you're a business, Brad will come into your business and go through and
I did
they have
an
some other
Escanaba through
initiatives.
Desconado Utility.
It's a
Did
nice,
you?
it's a nice program.
Yeah, they
It
paid,
is.
they paid 30% to retrofit all my lights.
They work with new construction too.
Yes, it's worth it.
What's in the bit with the electric?
What's that vaccine? Or whatever that is. Same thing, energy optimization.
Vaccine. What is that? I don't even know what that is.
Wow, I'm asking.
Yeah.
What was your
Hey,
question?
Vicki, what's under energy optimization? There's vaccines?
What number?
Oh, yeah. 552, Department 552.
Page
Yeah.
35.
35.
Energy optimization, payroll, field residential, and vaccines.
I'm just curious.
Have flu shots?
Vaccines.
Is that
Need one.
vaccine?
Have flu shots? 34,000?
Or other shots that are required.
Oh, vaccine.
So the
Rabies
city-
shots.
Rabies, parvo, kettle cough,
Why is it
These guys are
under
nerdy.
energy optimization?
Dangerous game though, you guys.
heartbeat, pond scum.
Look at that title.
Well, we can find out tomorrow. I'm just curious, you know, what's, because I know it's
It's been
probably
in there
another
every year.
That
energy
would, it
opti-
would be EO commercial, but I don't, but that's energy
That's what I thought,
optimization
energy
commercial, but I don't know
optimization,
why
EO
it's got
commercial.
that title on there.
I like it.
No, it should be commercial.
I say it's been in there every year, so.
You see it in last year's too?
I don't know, I didn't know last year's budget. That's it?
All right, anything more on the election? All right, well, I guess we'll move on to the wastewater fund.
There's one of those in, yeah, there's another one in, under public safety.
That's correct.
Public
Correct.
safety
That's
does,
vaccines.
That's really vaccines, okay.
public safety does.
Is it
get that.
$34,000?
It's $1,000.
They get their vaccines for lunch.
Yeah, that's a typo.
We don't find
The
time to sell
titles,
drugs
the
in
titles for the
Vegas on
different
it.
numbers change. Like when we change a car, I change the title description and so it gets caught up. And sometimes there's mistakes that are made on those. The vaccines used to be listed as flu shots. So they change occasionally, but I doubt whether that's correct.
All right, on to the wastewater fund.
Okay, front page on the wastewater fund. You see budgeted for this year, we were looking at transferring about 68,000 from fund balance. We changed that, and there'll be a end-of-year budget amendment because we needed to buy a new truck. We were replacing the tank on it, so that was about a $100,000 swing for us. So we'll be our audited cash balance will the 588,000 will be going down about 170,000. But this year we're budgeting putting a whopping $210 back. But it'll be more than that. It's a conservative estimate. Okay, highlights for this year, we're not proposing any rate increase. We're gonna have, cost of service study done, as well as get our capital improvement plan formalized and we'll develop our rates according to those. Just like solid waste, there's a 25,000 transferred to the pension stabilization fund, which wastewater was 300, so they'll have a few more years paying into that. And capital outlay, it's $22,500. So there's not a lot of capital projects in this, and backing off a little bit just because we're on the receiving list for the SAW grant this year. We're like number 3 from the top, so they usually take 15 to 20 places, and so we're quite certain we're going to start working on the SAW grant this year, which is going to do the plant study and system study and determine our wants and start the engineering on revitalizing the wastewater plant.
How much of this grant you go for, Eric? What's like your
We
typical-
applied for this 5 years ago, and I don't remember the numbers. I'm gonna have to dust them off and look at. They went, some of the, Detroit had some for over,
Over like $1 million, right?
they had like 5 million.
Mhm. I want to
they-
say it was like 500,000
Yeah, it's 500 to 700,000.
for here, for us. So
But
that's
what
a
they did,
substantial amount.
everybody, they came up with this great plan, and everybody threw their name in with projects, and they supposedly, they even took pictures of this, sprinkled everybody's name on the floor, and they drew them out of a hat. and-
Ours were, the UP wasn't sprinkled on there though. Ours were sprinkled somewhere else.
Sprinkled in it.
There's a couple of communities, I think Ironwood got picked right away.
Manistee.
Manistee always gets picked right away. But that'll be happening this year. But the capital outlay we're looking at this this year, going on the page 37, Rapid River. This is our expense for Rapid River. We usually end up buying a pump or a control panel or something for Rapid River. That $5,000 isn't a capital outlay in the Rapid River project. That's not listed because we turn around and bill them back for it. Part of our, if you look up in revenue, sewer charge Rapid River, we should be bringing in $151,200. And then if you look at the bottom line item for Rapid River sewer, we pay them back $88,480 minus the $5,000 of capital. So for a net, we usually net between $60,000 and $70,000 for treating the wastewater in Rapid River. Administrative, on page 38, everything's pretty much the same. The only change is the $25,000 addition to the pension fund, the bottom line item. Safety training is about the same. Meter reading and billing. This is Patty and Cindy. Mostly Cindy though, isn't it?
And Dave,
And Dave.
they get split.
It's split between the utilities and the solid waste fund for their wages. This actually isn't any of the water or the wastewater guys. It's those guys.
On that same page, who's consumer services? That payroll.
Consumer services, that is, for wastewater, that would, majority of that would be the guys going out and doing Miss Diggs. We were a member of Miss Dig, or
Okay.
working on a sewer lateral when a customer replaces their sewer line, and we'll work with a contractor or hire and replace the lateral from the main to the property line. But most of that cost is marking mistakes, or if a customer calls up and he's got water in his basement, and the guys will go over and check it out and say, well, your service line is plugged. And that's just anything we do that's consumer oriented.
And the contracted services, that was 18,000 this year, was that the Dakota project?
That was a contracted service.
It usually it's like 2,000.
Yeah.
What page is that on, Jay?
Same page under that consumer service.
940, that's
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. What that was we had a sewer backup, and it was ex-Commissioner O'Connor's house and Salo's house, and that was Salo's house was the worst. It actually had drywall and a cleaning, and so
We have insurance on that?
yeah. We'll get reimbursed for most of that, but we pay the
Initial cost.
cleaners, especially the local guys. It's hard for them to get paid from people because they just don't have that kind of. So we pay the money up front, and then we turn in for insurance, and then some of it will go to the customer, and some of it will come back for whatever we paid for. So
And I'm guessing this year was budgeted like 3,000, like more. Right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, consumer services, down to line maintenance, pretty much the same on the capital outlay. company that comes up, and they've been doing manholes in Marquette and Escanaba and Manistee, and we have a lot of old manholes that were actually handmade with bricks, and they're 80 years old, and the bricks start falling in, and this company comes in and relines them. They have a process that they have patented, and so instead of digging up the manhole and replacing it, we just put a new chimney on it, which saves us a lot of money, and then the manholes, they warranty their work for 25 years, and so we go through and it's so much a foot to do that, and I think they did 3 or 4 manholes last year. So. Meter maintenance, same as this year. Put $2,000 in there for new meters, in case we've done. There's a letter in the article in the paper about Escanaba changing out all their meters. Well, we're all done changing out all ours, but we still have some of them that break down, or if we get a new business in town, a 1-inch meter or an 1.5-inch meter, they're quite expensive, talking in the hundreds of dollars, so we always budget. This meter maintenance line item is split equally between water and wastewater. Plant operation and maintenance, everything pretty much the same, that line item. Laboratory, about the same. I just had under capital outlay, $3,000. We need to get a new piece of lab equipment, possibly 2 pieces of lab equipment, but the one is the water bath for doing our fecal coliform tests. Lab equipment is not cheap. Lift stations, we have, everything's the same except there's a $10,000 capital outlay going on with we tried to take 1 lift station a year. We have 11 lift stations right in town, and we try to upgrade it so it's OSHA approved, and the electronics are up to date, and so this year we're doing the Industrial Park lift station, which is down by where Marble Arms is right now. That lift station is about as old as how long I've been here. It's about 30 years old. Pumps are still working great, and they're in great shape. Rarely have any problems there, but control panel's down in a confined space, so we're moving that up. All the control panel up, and so it'll be in a cabinet up above ground. That pump station pumps all the wastewater from the old industrial park, which includes Bessie's and everybody down in that Marble Arms, and also Rapid River, and pumps it down the line. Lifts it up so it can go flow gravity again. Building and grounds is pretty much the same. Solids handling, pretty much the same. And contracted services, we usually have somebody go up there, one of the local contractors that lives by that property up in Perkins, or is working up there, and we have them work on our roads, and we usually put $1,500 to $2,000 work in the roads. We have 300 plus acres. We have 358 acres, and there's trails going that we drive the trucks and spray the sludge, so we need work every year, keep them up so they're safe to drive on. And vehicle expenses, normal year minus the new Vector, minus the new sludge truck.
Was that the 102,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So equipment-wise, we have our Vector truck and the two expensive vehicles are new and in good shape, so. As far as that goes, we're good for the next 5+ years. Any questions on wastewater? Okay, moving on to water. Budgeted this year, which showed a deficit of 94,000 we were proposing, taking from our fund balance. It's actually by year end because of not being able to do all the projects. We'll probably be in the positive 20,000, so that's a pretty good swing. Some of those projects we're putting off till this year because we had extra things happening this year that we weren't able to get to everything on our list. That, and we couldn't get a contractor to bury pipe. We ordered the pipe, but we couldn't get the pipe in the ground on our Wisconsin project till after deer season, and then so we just decided to do it first off this spring. Budget highlights: no rate increase, $25,000 transfer to pension stabilization fund, and $58,000 in capital outlay, which is also add into that. We already bought the pipe for the Wisconsin-Minnesota alley, but we have to do the labor and clean up. There'll be another $23,000 or so added into that.
That's on top of the 22,000 then?
Yeah, our total capital outlay will be $58,000 plus the $23,180 for, or $22,000, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the,
Yeah.
it says Wisconsin alley.
Yeah,
So that's on top of that?
yeah. I took the whole new line item as a capital expense. That's why I have 23,180. The number right under that, because the auditor will do that. Okay, let's see, revenue, everything's staying the same. To explain the water charge for Maple Ridge Township, we bring in, this is our first full year on it, so we're sort of learning as we go. So we bring in about $48,400 in our expenses, including paying, which most of the expenses in doing that would be Dave reading their meters. So we come up with about a $4,000, $4,200 profit doing their meters for them. New lines, that's the 22,000 we were talking about. It's the Wisconsin, Minnesota alley. Administrative, numbers are all about the same, just other than the $25,000, the bottom line item for the pension stabilization fund. Safety training's the same, meter reading and billing, that's the same. Consumer services, we usually, for capital outlay, we usually end up replacing between $5,000 and $10,000 worth of new laterals each year. That's when people get a leaky service line or leaky lateral, we dig it up and replace it. That's the portion from the water main to the property line.
I had a question back on page 43 there. The depreciation. That's $56,000 over budgeted? What is what do you think of that difference?
968.
968 depreciation is budgeted at 80,000.
It's 137,000.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's,
That's
What is that?
a number derived from the, auditor's sheets.
Okay.
And I haven't had a chance to call to see why it's so different.
Yeah.
The only thing he's done, or the water department has done, is replace water lines, but I can't imagine that it would be that much different.
we've never had a jump like that, so we're
Mhm.
gonna, Al's
That's
coming.
on my to-do list.
Well, Al is coming later this week, so we're gonna get that number straightened out. Line maintenance, under line maintenance, your contracted service, we had a sanitary survey by the DEQ, and it's actually, well, we're required to do a hydraulic analysis, which will tie into our GIS mapping. So, and it'll also help out on our fire ratings. So we'll go through and they take our map of water main sizes and fire hydrants, and we'll go through with the engineer, and we do actual flow and pressure tests throughout the system. And, it'll show where our strong points and our weak points are in the system. And that, and it'll help us finish off our capital improvement program for the distribution system. Reservoir and elevated tank, I budgeted this year to have both the Cameron School tank and the ground storage tank behind the water plant inspected. The outside and the inside, they will, they send a RUV, I think they have a submarine anyway, they send in and they film every inch of the inside to make sure the coating's okay. And they will give us a report and tell us when they think it needs to be recoated. Meter maintenance, this is the same as with wastewater, $2,000 into new meters. Operation and maintenance. Down at the bottom, there's under contracted services, we're getting prices right now to have the intake at the water plant inspected. Sort of a guess, the number, so hopefully it'll come in lower than that. Capital outlay, 50,000. We're looking at a 2-year process to, we put the carbon on the filters. The problem, the carbon's been working really good. It's taking out the precursors like we want it to, but we're killing it with the chlorine because we have to disinfect prior to the filters. So we're going to look at putting UV light disinfection system upstream from the filters to kill all the bacteria before it hits the filter. Then we'll be able to drop our chlorine dosage. So
That's the 50,000
that's 50,000.
for that new
Yeah.
system.
You'd probably save that in chemicals in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, it would be quite a lengthy payback because you're going to increase your electrical costs, but it's going to create a much safer because of the trihallomethanes. Every community's having a little bit of a tussle with it. It's the easiest way to drop them is to not disinfect your filtered water, and that's just plain dangerous. So we're gonna be proactive and hit it with a different disinfectant upstream, so it'll kill everything before it hits the filters. Exciting.
I'm jazzed.
Yeah. Kill him before he'll hit the filter.
The laboratory, same. Hydrant maintenance is the same. Building and grounds, no change there. Vehicle expense is the same. Mostly gas and oil for the trucks. Then the rock water, that's our expense for reading their meters. And then collecting their money, and that's the
Paying it.
portion we pay it back.
How does that work? You read their meters?
We read their meters and do their utility billing for us, and then they pay us $7.50 a month.
Mhm.
This was
So
negotiated by somebody else, because we didn't, we should get more than that.
$780.
Yeah,
So is that where it says water charge Maple Ridge?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
yeah,
So out of this whole deal, we make like 4,000?
yeah.
That's
You remember how many customers they have, Rob? Is that? They have 48 customers.
It's not many. It's less than, I thought it was that.
Yeah, it's just, with the radio read meters, they have the same meters as us. Dave just goes up and he could go have a beer at Herb's Bar and come back and it'd be done, so. That's how fast it reads, I mean. it
How long is
reads.
that agreement in effect, Mark?
Yeah.
No, he
Look
doesn't.
that up, he doesn't.
Doesn't do that.
All he has to do is drive it.
Hey, Eric.
I don't know how long
Do
the
you know how
agreement's
long
for.
it is?
You know, I wanna, well, look into that. I just know we did a bunch of research and we had a pretty good agreement that we were forwarding, and somebody forwarded a different one. But we will get that straightened out.
All right,
Just
any
a little problem.
questions on the water fund?
Flip in the water.
We did all our extra lead coppers as per, because of Flint, and everything came back good. So we're safe from lead.
Drink it all the time, every day.
Okay, any more? All right, then let's move on to the harbor fund.
The harbor's so fun. The harbor fund is fun. It's an enterprise fund, which is kind of new. It's only been that way for a couple of years. This year, we are filling up quickly for our revenues. So last year, we budgeted $50,000 for our transient dockage peoples, and we made 45, and that was mostly because 2 of our big slips were not full. But we did have waiting lists for the west end and for some of the north wall, the 25-foot slippers. So we have had 2 big boats sign agreements, so we think we're probably gonna be full. When we are full, everybody pays for their slip, and that includes me. I wanna throw that out there because for years and years, the west end was not full. So I put my boat in there and I use it to straighten docks, to put out the raft, to take in the buoys, and I put my dock, and I wouldn't pay for my dock. When the harbor is full, I pay for my dock. Our harbor master, for years, got a slip because he stayed down there. He's also going to be asked to pay for his dock this year if he decides to come back. So when we're full, everybody pays, straight up. So that looks like it's gonna turn out to be pretty good this year as far as filling up. Having a waiting list is a good thing. The revenues are pretty straightforward. We're not raising the rates this year. We go by the waterways rates, and we have our option of choosing level 1, 2, 3, 4. We are 2 levels cheaper than Escanaba.
So we're at level what?
I think it's level 3, but it might be 4. Don't hold me to that. It's they go up to 9, so I would have to look at that
We're
again.
2 levels lower,
We were last year. I don't know what they're doing with their rates
They're
this
done.
year.
they're probably not lowering them. Would it, is there room for us to increase?
Well, we could, except for the fact that we wanted to be full,
Okay,
and we are more of a, you want to come here, we're not on the way. So we wanted to be able to make sure our harbor was full and not overprice it. So when we were doing our prices, we also adjusted the expenses down there. So we lessened our hours when everything was kind of really going haywire. We went from like 12 to 6 instead of 8 to 8. And we did some other adjustments as far as our labor went. And we were able to keep our prices down.
how's
Now-
is you still servicing the customers well enough? I mean,
No.
there's,
So this year, we're planning, you'll see in the expense side that we are going to expand our hours, a couple more hours a day.
okay,
It's still not going to be from 8 to 8, we're thinking 11 to 7. With the labor down there that we have, they take care of all the grounds, they take care of the fish cleaning station, they take care of the fishing pier. So they're very busy. When we first open up, we'll have some part-timers, like park people, go down and help them. Sometimes the beautification people will go down and help them take care of the grounds because they're very busy with the opening procedures down there. But then it gets kind of slack, and then they're just cutting grass and talking to the people and, cleaning the fish guts. But a 7 or 8 hour day down there, they could stay busy. In the past, 8 to 8, there was a lot of standing around.
Yeah.
Lots.
okay.
We were also to be able to become more efficient, and it shows in our bottom line because of the new docking systems that we put in. We used to spend anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks straightening docks down there that were just like rinkety. I mean, we don't do that anymore. Let's go open up the harbor and turn on a switch. So, going down, you will see that, say last year, our revenues were 62,000, and our expenses as of right now are 38, and we still have a transfer that needs to be done to the general fund for like about 10 or 11,000. So you're looking at about $48,000. So you're looking at a $20,000 profit from last year's. So when we were putting together the budget, of course, it's an enterprise fund, which is a little bit new to me, so they have to balance. So we're proposing to put almost $10,000 into fund balance this year, even with the expanded hours and not having, not raising our rates. But it'll probably be, once again, a little bit more than that. This year, we're probably gonna put a lot in.
You don't show any depreciation.
I was gonna say no
The
depreciation.
depreciation is, and I've talked to the auditors, and they've tried to talk slow to me to describe that. And he said, you're putting money away. Our fund balance is $80,000 in there or something like that. So we are accounting for depreciation in that, and we do that, so we balance out also.
But there is gonna be something in there?
Oh, yeah, we've budgeted 23 or whatever it was in there for depreciation. Where's that?
23,000 this year.
Yep. Oh, no, we didn't do that this year
Or you
No.
didn't do it this year?
because
Well,
of
was
our,
it budgeted, but you didn't?
but because we have such a fund balance.
Yeah.
There's no liability for MERS on this
No.
harbor. And then the Dr. Mary Creedence money can't be used for anything here either?
Yes, under the capital outlay, you'll see the $10,000 that was in last year. That was going to be for our kayak plaza. We ended up not doing that, and we ended up putting security cameras down there instead, and Mary Creedence will pay for that. So we were having just a horrible time, and it was terrible. I actually had boaters come to my house and like threatened me to steal all my booze because they were getting all their booze stolen off their boats.
Really?
Yeah, it was really bad. But they were vandalizing, they were setting fireworks off, they were cutting up their carpeting. We had never had any kind of vandalism down there at all. I actually hired a security guard to go sit down there at night. it was getting really bad, so we put in 5 cameras. I'm just very excited to see how they work this summer. They wanted me to put a chain, or like a wrought iron fence around the harbor. We will not put our boats back in here, we're all gonna leave, our boats are being vandalized, everything, you know. And I didn't wanna put a big, huge fence, it's beautiful. So we bit the bullet and we bought those security cameras. They work wonderfly. If you're down there and you're looking, you can actually read Paul Geyer's shirt if you're walking off of the boat. So if we have an event, it's a recorded system, so we can go back and, you know, if it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning.
When were they put in?
I'm sorry?
When were they put in?
I'm at the end of last year.
End of last
Yeah.
year, so you didn't record any
Well,
vandalism last year?
No, we didn't catch anybody last year. I'm sorry. Not that I want to catch
we-
them.
Well, no, but I mean, it's a deterrent, but.
Well, they're very clear.
We suspect who is doing it.
And the thing is that once it starts happening like that, then that element tells other people, and it was feeding on each other, and it was giving us a really bad
Yeah, we don't
reputation.
wanna-
It was horrible. It was
Yeah,
horrible.
that needs to.
I will tell you, there was some concerns about having cameras down there. A lot of the boaters don't want Big Brother looking at them. So those cameras are not available to Joe Public, they're not on the website like our webcam is. Our webcam is down there, you click on. But some people wanted to be able to just click on those cameras and be able to watch what people were doing all of the time. And of course, that's not, Paul's got access to them, I have access to them. But it's not something that we watch.
I have access to it. I look at myself walking the dog at night.
He lives a simple life.
Yeah. You wave to yourself?
Yeah.
So this year, we are proposing to use $10,000 of Mary Creed's money to do the bike, or the kayak canoe plaza.
You've got that bottom capital outlay. But it's not added into the pot card, correct?
Oh, I took it out of Dr. Mary Creed's, that's right. I'm
So
sorry.
that should be.
That would just be absorbed by the harbor fund, the 10,000. We're not using any of the Mary Creed's money this year we'll use it to.
Is it because there's none available, or?
We've used it in other places.
I'm trying to keep a year fund balance in Mary Creed's in case. So we were looking at that too. Now that they're doing a 3-year averaging, I don't know if we need to keep a year.
So the capital outlay of 10,000, that's for that then?
Yes.
That's just from the profit of the harbor fund.
Yeah, we're just gonna use the balance in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's right, that's what I'm thinking.
The one good thing about turning this into an enterprise fund, which we had to do in order to take waterways money, was that we are planning for the future. So we want to do another grant. You know, we'll have the matching funds. Waterway grants are very particular and specific to marinas. And because of that, no other grant is usually available to help you with your marina, so you definitely have to rely on the waterways money, and the waterways money is usually a 50% match. So if you're gonna do a, $500,000 project, you're gonna have to have $500,000 to match it.
What services does the bike kayak plaza entail?
I'm sorry. I actually had a picture. Where's all those posters? The ones that we put together and it's spelled wrong? Yeah.
Oh.
So with the trail going in, at one end of the trailhead will be bikes, kayaks, canoes, and paddleboards.
And that's gonna be where?
I got a picture.
Okay. So-
And then at the other end of the trail, kind of by the terrace, they're proposing to have also the same type of things.
Who's they?
Niche Sports.
Okay.
Adam Escanaba is going to be moving over. Rod Elrod?
Yeah.
Rick
Rick
Elrod.
Elrod.
Rick.
Chamber. Is Adam gonna be doing it here too?
So we haven't worked out the details. We know we want those two things at both ends. So at any given time, you can go down, jump on a paddleboard or a kayak, do 2.5
So that's gonna
miles.
be a private entity utilizing that?
I'm hoping. I don't want to do it.
I'd like to have the city build me a spot to do business.
Well, wait till you see how pretty it is going to be.
Yeah,
Now
no,
we would.
that's great. I'm just saying, why are we spending money to facilitate a private entity?
We're gonna be able to open up the waterfront for recreational activities, and if we don't have to run the day-to-day operations, you're that far ahead of it. I don't know if we'll ever get to that portion of it, you know, I mean, we might have to still do some of that. When we get into my other recreational budget, I have some,
Are they gonna be responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the site?
see, we have no idea how it's going to play out right now. But if I show you, when I show you the picture, what it adds to the harbor,
It's in its infancy, it hasn't been born yet.
No, okay, I understand, but I'm just
I know,
saying.
I know, I agree.
I'd like to have somebody set up a site for me to come down
Mini
and sell
pasties or
something.
something?
Yeah. Little lunch
Well, ask for
counter.
one.
Pasty bending machine.
Oh, that even better. The little mini one.
Actually, the kayak rental up in Unison does a huge business. And Muldoon's delivers to the kayak launch site. Because people put them in the kayak and
Big
then
college
go
town.
down the shore.
Oh, yeah.
Pass the lunch
Good
down
idea.
on the shoreline.
Can't find it.
We'll have to discuss it later.
so anyways, it's the entrance of the harbor. And it's going to create a park-like setting right at the entrance of those. And basically, it's concrete with a half wall and some landscaping. If the kayak lockers go in there, then you're talking a whole nother thing. You're
But
talking.
that would be them, that would be their responsibility to do that?
If they're gonna set up their business there and they're gonna charge for that, yes.
Are we gonna charge them
If
rent?
we, if, I have no idea.
I think we should.
We don't even know if they're gonna just set up over there and we're gonna have to set up ours over here, you know, so we're gonna try to work together the best way possible. With the Dr. Barry Creedon's money, and we're gonna get into that like in a couple of days or whatever. She wanted so much money to go to programming. And it has to go to programming. The YMCA would like to take over our T-ball and different things, and I'll go over that with you.
No, that's fine. I think the Y does a good job. We do
But,
some
so,
other
so
Things for the Y, with the Y.
they can do it much better, and so
Yes.
they're gonna be doing some of that for us. So now we have an opportunity to keep our programs that we have and add
Yeah,
some
no,
more
that
programs.
sounds good. I'm just concerned about overlap of private and city here
Sure.
and what the perception might be.
Sure.
And,
And I don't even know how that's even gonna roll
Yeah.
out, and to be perfectly honest, all the questions you're asking, my rec board is screaming them at me.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, they're like, how, we're not gonna pay for somebody else to make money.
Right, that's what
But
I-
at the same time, it would be so good to have those activities here and not have to monitor them. So there's a fine line when you start
well,
getting
then
into
there
different
should be
things.
enough financial incentive for a private entity to come in and do that.
Mhm. And then we also have our pram program that we want to be able to also put into the harbor this year
Mhm.
and have the prams available. So you can kayak, you can paddleboard, and then plus our prams, and really open up the waterfront. If we could partner with another person that's gonna handle one end and we're gonna handle the other, or a mixture or something, a hybrid of that, where it's not costing the taxpayers any money, but we're able to, you know,
There you go.
utilize the Mary Creedon's money that wants that programming done.
Well, and then, but also funneling that Mary Creedon's money to that to support a private,
That if they're gonna be making money on it, I'm not
Yeah.
going to be paying them.
right.
But the same thing happened with the YMCA. We're gonna subsidize our residents with the Mary Creedon's money. The YMCA is gonna come over and make money off programs, and we're gonna
But
subsidize.
they're gonna be providing a service that would cost us more to provide that same
Are
service.
they gonna charge too? That's the other thing.
Yeah. So anyways, it's a work in progress. The trail's not even gonna be done until the end of July, so we have a little bit of time.
Okay.
But I thought, where that plaza right there is gonna be beautiful when you pull into the harbor, you know, it's
You know, I
gonna
look
be.
forward to it being an asset to the city. I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure that we're not
Oh, yeah.
We should actually be
Blurry lines here.
leasing space down there.
leasing space, right?
Well,
Because
and-
what if another kayak business wants to come in and say, I'll pay double what they're paying to rent?
Well, and there's a big,
Yeah.
well, there's a big push right now to, like, when we sell our harbor slips for boats, there's a big push to have kayak slips. So you don't have to bring your kayak or your canoe down. So they're called lockers, and so you rent out the locker space. And it's a source of revenue, and if you live up on the bluff, you can just come down, take your, and it's a convenience. So we want to get to that portion and that point in the harbor and have that area, because that's kind of a big deal now. People love to do that. So we want to be able to have that for them
If
and
it provides a
capitalize
service
on
and
it.
it's self-sustaining or it creates revenue, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Why would we pack it all in the harbor though? Congest the harbor when we have the other,
Well, we have the pram dock that we can kind of
we got
utilize.
a
and
lot of
we're-
room over there.
And we're kind of looking at that. When you have rental areas, you want to kind of combine them with people that are already staffed. So if you have a harbor master staff already there working, they can come up and, now they can give them a key to go over there and get their own thing, so it's close enough. So we are kind of looking at that whole area. Should we develop like a floating dock system right there also? So that's part of the rec. Let's see how the water trail goes. What if it goes over really well and we need a lot of space? Wouldn't that be a horrible problem?
Start dredging.
Oh my God, it'd be terrible. People everywhere. There'd be no parking. Oh,
The
sorry.
harbor does get pretty congested once in a while.
You know what? I want it congested all the time.
I mean, you get 3 or 4 boats in there, there's not a lot of room to maneuver.
Oh, it's fun. You jump from boat to boat. It's great. Good times. I want it busy. I want to have problems. I want people running into people's boats. Oh gosh, I shouldn't have said that.
We had this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
That marina might be a boat.
So the harbor's doing well. I think it's a good asset to our community. We have a lot of really nice people down there, and of course, it's a fun place.
All right, any questions on the harbor? Okay, any questions on any of them that we've already gone through? Anyone that you think?
I think you're gonna have to fund depreciation. You can't just say because you have a fund balance, I'm not funding depreciation.
So we'll have to fix that.
I'm sure the accountant could give you a number to put in there.
Told us what to do.
What was in the audit last year?
I can tell you what to do with it.
First night of the work session.
It was for amended, I think, but they just didn't put it in
Ask Al.
Yeah.
22,530.
yet. Yeah, it was budgeted 23.
22.
That money
Questions off this?
goes towards your fund balance anyway.
We'll figure it
The
out.
whole depression.
Depression.
This depreciation
Yes,
explanation
that too.
is depressing.
Ditto.
Say it all.
That too.
I used to have my own definition and I'd give it right my number. It's your math's right, but your explanation's wrong.
All right, so any more questions?
I'll figure out the depreciation, see what they want me to do with that, put that in there, plug it in, make sure it all balances.
The only thing I would have questioned is that I'm glad that nothing went up and we kind of got everything covered, but what was it, the water fund's losing $9,000 or was gonna be in the red for revenue to expenses of what you budgeted this year? I was just curious how much of a raise would we have to do just to, not that I want one, just to balance that out so that when somebody asks me a question and says, why are they, how much are we absorbing per user of a meter or whatever?
Every 25 cents brings in extra, where's my water? Brings in an extra 25,000 a year quarter, so
So that's pretty good. So if
if we raised it a dime, that would,
a dime would probably cover,
yeah.
Sometimes I'm not that unreasonable all the time. But what I'm saying is, when you look at something like this and to balance it out, it may be better for us in the future to look at when you're losing $10,000 to raise a nickel or a dime instead of just 25 cents each. I mean, that's the way I look
A
at it.
nickel or a dime is a little bit easier to swallow than
Oh,
50 cents right now.
Yes. So I just want to throw that out there in case there's any.
Would somebody
The rate
tape?
study is gonna do?
Did
Right.
somebody-
That's why I don't look at it right now. I realize
It's
we're
on
into
the
that.
record, yes, it is.
That's on the record, just so you know.
No, but once we do that rate study, we should follow that type of procedure.
I was just taking, just from
What
last
do you mean it's on
year.
the record?
You're on TV.
We're gonna do we'll do a rate study and that'll determine how and
To make sure we're in line with
Yeah.
what we do, that's all. And then it wouldn't be unreasonable to raise it a dime.
Yeah.
Once again, it's on.
So there'll be no raise in the electric, water, or wastewater, or wastewater, solid waste.
Right.
No rate increases at all in the budget.
Or Harvard.
Or Harvard, yes.
Which we should.
Yes.
Of course.
Well, could you find out what those others?
Yeah.
I mean, just comparatively.
I will. I usually-
See how far off we are. And
They're
see-
working on their budget right now too, so I don't know if they picked, I can't imagine them going down.
They're not gonna lower, they're not gonna lower. That's what we should.
They have a lot of empty, yeah.
I know if we could
That's
go,
important.
if we could go up one tier and still be attractive.
I would recommend staying full for a year, getting a waiting list, and then my
18,
experience,
19
my experience,
fiscal
And that's
year.
fine, it's bringing in revenue, so.
but my experience is that people want to be in a full harbor.
Right, instead
So
of,
she's doing good.
Yeah.
Well, and people want to be in a full harbor. So if they feel like, oh, you raised the rates and I'm gonna lose my slip, I'll pay that extra money because I'll never get back in again. We used to have a waiting list, and so nobody would ever leave.
Okay.
Well, now they're like, well, I'll go over here and I can always come back. So we gotta kind of be careful how we price our stuff. With the campground also, although it makes a ton of money, we probably could charge more. Should we? Or should we stay full? You know, and keep all our businesses happy in
Well,
town?
There's probably a
There
margin in there where
is.
you can raise it and still be.
There
at
is,
capacity.
yeah. So we look at that really, really closely, and especially when we have a full harbor waiting list, that's the time to maybe raise rates.
All right, and if there's nothing, we're adjourned from the budget workshop.
And we are 7 minutes early.
Yay!